Righty guys, I just thought I'd share a little thing with you. I actually put it up on my social media pages a while back, and I was pretty amazed actually at the fact that on Facebook, Steve Starling actually commented on it and said what a great idea, and I was pretty stoked with that because he's a legend of the fishing industry and I've always admired him and his work. And yeah, it's just something that I've done for quite some time. I thought I'd share it at the time because it makes life a little bit easier for fishers and people enjoying the sport. So what it is what I do when I'm, I mean I use it a bit on if I'm out in the boat now too, but when I'm land-based walking around, I like to pre-rig a lot of soft plastics. So, you know, before I go, so basically my time on the water, walking the banks or whatever else, I'm not spending a lot of time, you know, re-rigging different plastics, etc. I've got, you know, in my head what I think is going to work for the day with the weight that I'm going to use and the style I'm going to use, and quite often I'll have 10 of them sitting in my top pocket. And the issue, you know, I found was, you know, you got to pull them out, and of course the hook's stuck in your shirt, and it's just a big drama, and they get all tangled up inside each other. So I just come up with this idea. I use just your normal, you can see it there, your just your clear tubing you get from any hardware store, you know, any shop that sells, you know, your paints or whatever, or, you know, just any sort of hardware store. It's just the same sort of tubing like you'd use on your windscreen washer bottles or whatever, but I tend to use 6mm just because there's a lot of clearance in it, and so it's easy to get on and off. It doesn't fall off, and it's easy to get it on and off, and it's not a hassle. I mean, the only real hassle you'll have is when you finish with one, you got to get another one. It's just finding the piece of tube that come off this one that's in your pocket, but that's not really a hassle because there should only really be one loose one floating around in there. So you basically put that one back on, get your next one out, take the tube off, put it in your pocket, go again. So it's fairly simple. So you just want it to be able to slide onto there, and you only want to cut it just slightly longer than the eye that's on the jig head, just with a pair of scissors, standing knife, whatever you want to use. Okay, you only want it slightly bigger because it's quite stiff, this stuff, but flexible at the same time. So you slide it on, okay, and you just give it a little push. As you can see, you know, it doesn't come off. You know, I've had them rattling around in my pocket for hours and never been a problem. And then of course when you go to change, it's just a simple matter, just pop that off. Put it on, put that in your pocket, the one you had before, put it back on, you know, job's done. Yeah, it works for anything. It's not, you know, I've got a few different jig heads here. It's not ultra fiddly. What are we at? Probably a size 1 for this little grub. Maybe this is our new little grub. Yeah. So size 1, not a number 1, not a 1.0. Sorry. That's where a bit of confusion comes in sometimes between 1.0 and just size 1. There is a definitely difference in the hook. So just a size 1. This is our new little fat grub. It looks like it's going to fit nicely with the hook point coming out pretty much in line with that last recess on that last rib, so it's right at the back, which should help if something goes to try and hit it from behind. It'll get hooked up, you'd like to think. So just feed that on, and there is a little line on the plastic from out of the mould. These jig heads, by the way, it's not always what I use, it's just what I had on hand. I use a lot of different ones. I recommend you getting on Google and checking out the Australian made ones such as Smash Plastics or John the Jig Man. There's heaps of them out there. Just Google Australian made and make sure they are making them by hand here. So there you go. That's all rigged up nicely, and same deal, tubing, which I've let fall down here. Alright, so like I say, you know, 6mm, it's a nice loose fit, so it's easy on and off. So I usually just hold it up against there, and I usually, I suppose I cut it probably level with the the front of the hook eye, so you've just got that little bit of extra length, and it will just sit on there nicely like that. You know, I use it on my nippers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't interfere with the plastic or anything else. You know, it's not an issue. And like I say, easy to carry around, easy to pop off. I suppose if you wanted to, you could put a little recess in the piece of tubing, but I just find not having the recess there gives you that little bit of tension, which just sort of holds it in place. You could put a recess if you wanted to, but it works like this for me. So, you know, putting the recess in has only added an extra bit of work to the process. Not that that's an issue either, but so yeah. So there you go. Just something I thought I'd share out there. So, like I said, it's been on my social media pages. You may or may not have seen it, but just a little tip for you know, when you're fishing, you want to rig up, you know, before you go out for the day, you know, the night before. You know, I rig up, you know, 6 or 7 or 10, you know, what I reckon I'm going to use. Obviously weedless is not an issue, because the hook isn't going to be protruding. It's usually sitting, you know, on top of the bait. And I'll do a rigging video later, because I like to rig quite a few things weedless. So yeah, that's hope this helps you all out. Until the next one.